Missed any of our conversations? Let's catch you up on YouTube Repeat. Subscribe and stay updated. We are Radio 537.
I want to talk about taking it one day at a time.
Wow.
And taking it one day at a time, and I feel like it's something really important because after each and every late night thought,
Mm.
as much as I'm thinking about what we just spoke about on radio, I began my quest for a different topic to talk
Hmm.
about the following day. And I saw myself getting stressed because sometimes I don't know, maybe Zantoland, I don't know if I can say a writer's block, but
Aha.
I struggle and then I battle. What if it's not good enough? And then came this thought to me that, man, you're stressing too much, and
Aha.
it one day at a time.
Time.
And sometimes without us perhaps noticing much of what we place our hopes in a very
Mm.
long time, it's a matter of reaching the destination not now, but sometimes in months or
Aha.
even decades that umuntu uzofikelela kule nto afuna ukuya kuyo. It depends ukuba yintoni, maybe your dream house,
Mm.
a degree, your career, or maybe you want to write a novel. You don't just write it now. You write it word after word, letter after letter,
Hmm.
page for page,
Yeah.
and it's a process, and you need to take it
One step
one
at a
day at a
time.
time.
Wow.
Yeah, so I felt very, very happy when you were talking about the fact that it never started like injena iqale ngomntu for
Mm.
society to be rotten, as you say.
Hmm.
It took one day at a time, and
Yeah.
slowly but surely it became what it is. And
Mm.
this principle also needs to apply in our lives, and especially young people who are feeling the pressures of social
Yeah.
anxiety and other pressures in life.
Mm.
So in the list of our intensely felt hopes, few entries stand to come to fruition
Mm.
in this season, or I might say the next. and
Mm.
and some might not agree with me, but isn't a static clash, and it might not be this season, it might not be next year,
Hmm.
let alone things be to be the way you want them to be
Ah.
by tonight. It's out of the picture. That's why we have to take things, German Sicho,
One
take
step at a
it
time.
one day at a time. And I'm sorry, but I'll be repeating this phrase throughout this session today. But
Mm.
occasionally, what I found out is life places us in situations where our normal, long range, hopeful way of thinking grows impossible,
Mm.
and we just want to think about ngomso. We want to think about next week. Inyanga ayikakapheli, but already we have plans for imali esizoyifumana at the end of the month. And
Aha.
yeah, sometimes life puts us in that kind of situation, but we have to remember
And I want to
that.
ask you a question, even in line exactly with what you are saying.
Yeah,
Ukuba perhaps
yeah,
maybe
yeah, yeah.
yintoni lena isenza ukuthi sizifumane sizibhaqe sesingaba bantu abanale temperament yokuba we want things to happen now. You know, we've become clearly kind of an instant society where singxamile man, singxame in such a way that we want things to happen now. We don't want to wait, and then we find ourselves caught up, as you said, even when you were starting, especially as young people, stuck with this social
Yeah.
anxiety and so on and so on, depression and so forth. How did we get to this point where we are these people who think that isn't, they just poof, happen, done?
Um, First of all, everyone has their hopes, their dreams, and aspirations. And sometimes hope is not what we we like to paint it out to be. Hope has two sides. There is hope that is patient, that is long suffering, and there is this kind of hope that young people have today, which is, I call it impatient hope. It's not wrong to hope for what you want,
Uh-huh.
but when you start to have the impatience about it, that's when it starts to kill you. Think about, if you can, God forbid, of course, someone who's in a car accident. Let me
Uh-huh.
better say, ne?
Mm.
Person who's in a car accident lands up in hospital, has broken bones, has a lot that's going on, and
Mm.
that person has to have recovery time, and has to go through a physio and whatnot. And if you go to that person and you ask about, hey man, how are you doing, how are you, the one answer that seems to fit the above, it will be, I'm taking it one day at a time, because
Uh-huh.
I can't just move from car accident to doing what I was doing before. It's a process. Or umuntu omdala, a more simple example, like more umuntu omdala xa ewile, andazi noba akho ambona umuntu omdala xa
Yeah.
ewile, injures himself or herself, akakwazi uphinda akhawuleze, ne,
To
he has to
recover.
take it kancinci, take
Mm.
it one day at a time. And
Mm.
maybe these may be extreme scenarios, and the natural impulse as to hope that we never encounter such, but they contain valuable teachings, Tobani,
Mm.
for anyone who has a tendency to ignore the advantages. And that is, it's for all of us. We tend to ignore the advantages that we have of having today in our hands,
Uh-huh.
and we want to, instead of yesterday we were thinking about today. Now that we are in today, we want to think about tomorrow. I come on, man. Let's take things one day at a time, Pratobs. I hope I answered you there.
You answered me, and there's something beautiful that you are saying there. Ukuthi, we live today thinking about tomorrow, and we live tomorrow thinking about the day after tomorrow. So I remember someone once said, ukuthi, we are people who are all who don't ever live in the moment. And he said,
Yeah.
with now the quick evolution and growth and development of technology, we are people who we never have that sense of now I'm content, because we
Yeah.
are never in the moment. There is some high that we are always chasing for, because as you say,
Yeah.
we are living for tomorrow. If we are in right now, we are already thinking about ungomso, what are the people going
Yeah.
to. We are never saturated in what is happening now. And perhaps maybe this is one of the reasons why we find we are people who are more prone to complain more, because I don't think a sense of gratitude can ever come out of this type of life that we are living, of wanting things to happen instantly, and that is not the natural order of life. Anything
Yeah.
needs time to grow. Anything needs time to
Yeah.
develop. Let's look at nature. You don't plant a seed today and then tomorrow it gives you fruit. You plant a seed today, you water it, and you don't even see what you are watering. You don't even know ukuthi the seed is still there. You go maybe a day, a week, sometimes it's almost gonna be a month, and then you start to see something coming out. And when you start to see whatever that comes out, it doesn't even look like the end product that you are looking for. But in nature, we understand that. I don't know why can't we understand the same principle applies even in our lives, because I think in that way then we would even have a sense of gratitude. Ukuthi actually
Yeah.
I'm growing. And one beautiful thing about growing, especially growing a pace it is that you will
Yeah.
get everything that you need, so that when you have fully grown, you can be able to stand by yourself.
Yeah, well, to some, what you're saying may sound, it's true, by the way, what you're saying, and I completely agree. And to some, maybe who is listening now, may sound like what we're talking about today is passive thinking, because people are encouraged to be futuristic, and there's no sense of gratitude for what you have now. It's impossible. That's why I said before that it's a way of thinking that grows to be impossible. I'll
Uh-huh.
make an example with technology.
Uh-huh.
You have a phone
Uh.
today, the iPhone, I don't know what, and then the iPhone double
12.
X comes out. That is faster. That is more, I know,
Uh-huh.
advanced than the iPhone XS or whatever the
Mm.
case may be. You just want, it's called impatient hope. That's why I call it impatient hope, because you're constantly hoping for something in the future, but you're not willing to be patient about it.
And maybe that goes in even with the fact that mhlambi and I remember this is something that we had touched on when we were talking on refining perspectives. Ukuthi we have grown to become, a generation that kind of despises that one beautiful value called discipline. And yeah, I think
Yeah.
to a certain extent, Londole, it comes to that because Genyan, so we are people who are so impatient and impulsive to such a point that as the example that you made here is so succinct and beautiful. I have a phone, I have an iPhone 10 and I'm uzawufika i-iPhone 12 and I'm like yo nkosi yami ndiyayifuna ngathi ngathi akasafika uSeptember and I will do hooks and crooks to get it. Sometimes the woman say,
Eh,
but as much as am I going to even get it? I don't even necessarily need it. But it's that matter of we are these people who are so impatient. And I guess sometimes the woman say, but I could have got it, but I was going to have to just wait a month or two. But we are not willing to wait. We want things and we want them now, Tata.
that's why we have to learn the art of taking it one day at a time. You see, one day at a time thing, and it reminds us that in many cases, our greatest enemy, as I said, is impatient hope.
Mm.
When we are constantly hoping, which is not wrong, but we need to learn to be patient with our hopes and dreams, because they are far. They are
Hmm.
really far, and to get there, it's not that you're not going to get there. You will get
You
there,
will.
and but for you to reach the destination, there is a road ahead. There is a process that is involved. So without knowing or being conscious of thinking in this way of taking things one day at a time, you begin to limit your horizons
Mm.
to to tonight and
Hmm.
now, instead of being productive now, which is going to ultimately affect your tomorrow. As I was just saying to
Uh-huh.
Zia, who woke up yesterday, you end up impeding yourself to being the best that you can be now, and
Mm.
you your horizons into something that is even out of your grasp. So we must grid ourselves for the long haul, because
Huh.
it's a long journey up ahead. Sisakhula abaninzi bethu, and
Mm.
improvement will be achieved when we learn to be patient.
Wow. Hold that thought there. There's a question here. Engenayo on our WhatsApp line and Benchila Kampala you can also send in your questions, the WhatsApp on your voice notes, Pago 063 698 7566. The question is, time is our greatest enemy. Sometimes we are clustered with so much ideas and philosophical thoughts that at times need to be articulated as one. So then, what happens if the two are in a state of urgency? Do we prompt for hope or reflex? That is Njabulo from Gauteng. Yo. Did you hear that question, Nhlekas?
That is a mouthful right there. That's a very intelligent question.
Yo.
So, my answer to Jabulo is simple: learn to master teaching yourself patience. The
Mm.
ideas will be there, everything will be there, everything will come at you at once. But going at everything at once will not help you, because you are one being, right?
Mm.
You can't divide your body and say, arm do this, head do that. Your
Uh-huh.
body is one. It needs to function as
As
one.
one.
You tackle one idea, one philosophical way of thinking at a time,
Mm.
and you'll be more productive than chasing 50 butterflies at once. Chase
Uh-huh.
one, and you'll see by chasing one, you achieve that, you'll be able to chase another and another and another. But you need to master the art of being patient, because all the things that are meaningful in life, they require a steadfast spirit. So
Mm.
take it one day at a time, Jabulo.
Wow, what a beautiful answer there. Bro, sishiyekela nje imizuzu emithandathu phambi koba ndikushiye and let you go. But I want you to kind of touch on why do we actually even need, because there's something even in this answer that you are giving to Unjabul. You said something about it that there's no effectiveness in trying to attain or work in 7 things, 8 things, and try to divide yourself up because you are one. And some people will call it spreading yourself thin, and you will not even become you won't become effective in any one thing. But how can we then transition from this state of, being people who are compulsive? And I think to a certain extent, our society has kind of embraced the fact that we are people who want things now. And you see that even with some of the ideas that we have and that we come up with, we bake into that perception of what people want things now, so we try to always make things instant. You see it, instant money. You see it, microwaving your food. You see it to such a point that because of our impatience, we are called the microwave generation. So as the microwave generation, how can I then transition from being this person who has been constantly thinking what I will achieve and get things done within a blink of an eye, and things. But let me put this question in these 2 ways. What are the effects of thinking like that, and how can I get myself out of that rut?
Okay. Hey, Toman, I never predicted you'd ask such a difficult question today. But anyway, I'm taking from the book The Capitalist Nigger.
Uh-huh.
There's a part where it says there that what you call me is not a problem,
Uh-huh.
but what I answered to, that's where the problem really lies,
Okay.
right? Now, being called a microwave generation, no, it's not a problem.
Uh-huh.
But when we become that, that's where the problem lies. That's
Uh-huh.
why I'm saying that taking it one day at a time means that we recognize that we have no serious capacity to exercise our will on a span of years, and we should therefore disdain to secure one or two, or let me say like this, to disdain wanting to achieve what is beyond our reach at the present time.
Mm-hmm.
And we must just fight to secure that one or two minor win in the hours that are ahead of us, or the ones that we currently have. Yeah,
Mm.
well, so thinking like that impatiently, the opposite of taking it one day at a time, as you ask the effects, you see, as life gets a whole more complex and complicated, we must remember that for things to get easier, it's when we have more control,
Mm.
not of other people, but of our
Uh-huh.
lives, right?
Mm.
So the more you stressing about what you can't achieve, is
Mm.
the more stressed, anxious, and more of way of putting yourself like in a corner, because when we can't achieve something, we normally feel miserable. So
Mm.
that constant state of feeling miserable is what is ultimately called depression. So
Mm.
the outcome of constantly being worried about what you will or might achieve tomorrow, rather than worrying about taking it one day at a time, like worrying about today, it becomes a strenuous process, and you end up ultimately doing the opposite of what you did not want to happen, and that is to delay yourself. Because that fear of delaying, it comes into place, and it's one of the main factors that is applied to abantu abangxamileyo. So you must remember, man, to smile and unclench and take things one day at a time, rather than constantly worrying of the things that are not in our hands. Now, given the scale, Tobani, of what we are up against, and knowing that perfection may never occur, we can stoop to appreciate the minor gifts that are already in our grasp. So, even though we are amidst a litany of troubles, taking things one day at a time gives us the power to bracket off the anxiety and keep harmful self-criticisms at bay, and you get good hope in a sea of many disappointments.
Wow, bro. Thank you so much for that. Your closing shots, your remarks, closing words for namhlanje.
Yeah, my closing remarks of today is try to make it to the end of the day, man, without doing self-harm. If you make it through the day having accomplished its tasks and demands, that's already an achievement worthy of a place at the altar of sanity, because your sanity is very important, and you deal with the day you already have in hand. And I'll quote here from a very familiar author, and I'll give you a task to say, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough troubles of its own.
Wow, the great man himself, Jesus Christ. Wow, what a beautiful closing.
Deal with today. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much. You always come in guns blazing, and again, namhlanje you did. Thank you so much for that late night thought. Ndikhuphe ngantoni kaloku ndikhuphe ngantoni namhlanje kanti namhlanje ngakhupha ngaligqom ne awunangxaki today.
No, yabona, if ungangidlalela uMasego, the song called Black Love, I can be very happy. Thank you for the opportunity of having this feature. Thank you to Unjabulo and others who are sending their messages, their voice note, and to everyone watching on YouTube, the podcast. Thank you very much, bro.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to him, to that late night thought.